Good evening. My name is Meera Krishnadas, and I am coming from SGS. I'm a food safety auditor and section head for food label review and pet food regulatory services. Today, we are here to be discussing about sustainability, and we have, the sustainability is the in thing right now. We are trying to save the world, we are trying to save the earth. So we have a lot of things coming out, we have a lot of projects, we have a lot going on about sustainability in different fields. So what we are looking at is actually the food packaging. We know that a lot of plastics or plastic packaging has been used for many years right now. And you know the plastics, these are materials that can never be fully destroyed. And it's causing a lot of harm to the ecosystem, a lot of accumulation of the microplastics. So we are trying our best to get rid of this and replace them with biodegradable packaging materials. So we have with us to discuss more about this and to throw light on a lot of emerging technologies in this particular field. With us is the CEO and the managing partner of Avani Eco Middle East, Mr. Peter Avram. Welcome you.
Hi, Meera. Good afternoon, and thank you for having me here.
Yeah. So, Avani Eco Middle East, I think you have been the pioneers in the production of biodegradable packaging. Yes.
Yeah, well, we've been fortunate enough to be on the market since 2017. So about 8 years ago, this time we formed. My background is hospitality, so I used to be one of the beneficiaries of or the users of packaging. And then while working there, I did the Green Glove certification for a couple of hotels. But back in the days, we didn't have too many solutions. And then as technology evolved, it was great to see that. All of a sudden, new materials came on board, and then after the Paris Agreement was signed, the agenda was driven by the governments, and luckily the local authorities and the private sector joined hands, and then for the last 8 years, it's been quite a journey.
It's been amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. So we would like to know more about the usage because not many people are aware about this transition. So as we have seen currently, it was initially the plastics. Then it moved to PLAs, then to the PHAs. So how exactly, what is the emerging trend you think is, which is very much practical and that can be in use?
Well, there is two things. They go one, it becomes something viral, i.e. you see those edible packaging which looks good, and then people say, wow, we could have, it's great to see that you can simply just don't dispose the packaging and use it. But then the economies, once you try to bring something to scale, then you have to keep certain things in mind. I mean, plastic is a great product, is going to be there to stay, I think, and to make a little accolade there, plastic is here to stay. So if we start to use plastic wisely, as we use, for example, aluminum, we recycle 85%, paper worldwide. Paper we recycle over 50-60%, depends on the part of the world. But plastic we're doing well beyond 20%, and depends which part of the world. So plastic was good because it's a byproduct of the oil industry.
Yeah.
However, we learned that over the years it left microplastics.
Yes.
And then as technology evolved, you mentioned PLA and PHA,
yes.
and then bagasse is another term. So vegetable-based polymers or biopolymers start arriving. Actually, PLA is not new. It's been 20 years since it's been in use, but very few people came to know about it. And then because of the economies of scale and the sheer volumes and its applications, then we were not using it. But for the last 7-8 years since I went into, I could see an explosion of the use of. It's also a material that can be recycled, but it needs industrial compostable. So on our view, when we look at packaging, when we assess a packaging or a material, we start first to see how harmful or not that material is for the environment, how helps the circular economy, and then also also the measuring literally the carbon footprint, the carbon impact, always
Yes,
comparing
right.
it with plastic. Yeah.
We are trying to get it reduced as much as possible.
So to
isn't it?
clarify a little on the technology, the terminology, so PLA is a polymer made of a starch, a vegetable starch. Most of the PLA polymers are done from corn, but you can do it out of potato starch, you can do it of other very starchy vegetables. There is different biopolymers that can be made out of sugarcane, wood sawdust, and
Yeah.
so on. Most of them are industrial. PBAT is another example, which is a mineral-based polymer. But most of these polymers, they are industrially compostable. So
Compostable. So is it 100% compostable?
it is 100%, I mean, nothing is 100% compostable, but this is proven to be over 99% compostable,
Okay.
that it will decompose in natural environment. The most important thing is that this polymer generates anything between 25 to 35% less carbon CO2 versus the conventional plastic items. And then it does not use fossil fuels, which we all try to use of less, and so we don't finish the resources of the world.
That's right.
Another thing to add here is that we to make these polymers, we do plants, then we transform it into polymers, we transform it into something which is usable, and at the life and cycle of that product, it becomes again compost and then nutriments for the future crops.
Okay, so we have been hearing a lot about the seaweeds, okay, the carcass of the, and then the coffee husk, which is being used. Do you think this is very much in use on how practical it is to be bringing this as a packaging material?
Well, I think the seaweed example is a great example. Not in all the countries a wide available commodity. It is nice to see that the ocean, I mean, over 70% of the earth is covered by water, correct? And then it's so easy to make an analogy that we extract something from the water which grows in abundance, but then to make that scalable, it has been a challenge. It's been there, the seaweed material, for the last 10 years, if I'm not mistaken. But it didn't kick in to be such a scalable model. Coffee grounds and so on, the waste of the coffee, for example, on the other hand, I see it's becoming more and more trendy. Lots of hotels, instead to dispose, or lots of organizations, bars, whatever, Horeca, instead of disposing the coffee grounds, now they start recycling it and using it for a certain polymer. So I see that is a growing trend. However, it is still not enough to cover the demand. I imagine we have been using plastics for the last 50 years.
Yes, that's
and all
right.
of a sudden, but it's a great alternative material to contribute along with your PHA, with these fermented polymers, which are home compostable, the PHA, the PLA, but also the sugarcane and the bamboo as options for single-use items. Yeah.
So what exactly do you think is the barrier of bringing it or making it to practical solutions?
Well, one is the cost of producing it, okay, and then the second, because to do something which is sustainable, you have to adhere to certain standards yourself. You're in the industry,
Yes,
so the scrutinizing process is one, and then that leads to costs. So operations, operators, everybody likes to protect the bottom line. So lots of times when we offer our products, for example, to replace the conventional disposables, we're not only offering the product, but we're also offering a full solution with that, which leads to substantial reduction in the consumption. So, and that's how we have done things for the last 7-8 years. So in absolute every category of the products, we have managed to reduce consumption, be it from the bags, to the straws, to the coffee cups, and it's all come to two things. First one is awareness, and then once the team and the client team, they understand that this is a product which is delicate, it's made from organic matter and from plants and so on. And then the second part was using it ethically, all right? So try to change some of the standards. I have in mind, for example, the straw. You order a drink and then you automatically get given a straw. So why? I think what we discuss with our clients is why don't we prompt? Why don't we offer? Do you need? Yes, no, the same cutlery for takeaway, the lid for the coffee cup when you take a takeaway, and then so be it. The same was with the bags.
So trying to reduce.
100%. So and that's how I think it should go. You know, our interest was never to sell as many of these items that as possible. No, it was we tell the clients, don't use single-use disposables, but if you have to use, then here are some options. So you can use sugar cane, for example, which is bagasse is the technical term. So it's my favorite crop actually. So quite a lot of countries that they used to grow sugar cane for sugar went out of business, like beginning of 20th century and so on. And there was lots of farmland in lots of poor countries where it was unused. And then once the demand for sugar cane being used in this packaging industry and for biopolymers grow, quite a lot of local economies flourished because it's quite a productive crop, one. And then why is my favorite? Because by the time this crop grows, this plant grows up to 3 meters tall, it absorbs so much CO2 that it's almost carbon neutral. So it's one of the greenest crops that there is. And then it biodegrades naturally in a natural environment without harming, without leaving any bioplastic.
So most of the things such as produced in your facility, it is from the bamboo?
Yeah, well, we have bamboo, we have sugar cane, we use paper, but we only use sustainably sourced paper, for example. I mentioned corn. Yes, we use corn, but we're not taking food from anyone's mouth. We're using industrial grade corn, which is, again, a crop which is 20-25% more productive than the food corn, for example, the corn that is used for food. We use cassava or yuca or tapioca, again, one of the most starchiest vegetables. You might have seen that bag that dissolves in water. So that's our bag. So literally, it's that compostable that it has passed the acute oral test and then is harmless for sea or land animals if they ingest that bag. So
that's just amazing. And how effective do you think the current regulations are in supporting the initiative for the sustainability when it comes to packaging materials?
Well, how effective you say?
The regulations, you know, the country has put up regulations
well,
sometimes.
Initially, I mean, we live in a place in UAE. I'm not going to refer only to Dubai, but in UAE, we're fortunate enough to have some of the largest multinational companies. Lots of it from the transport sector, the airlines, if you take the shipping companies, but also hospitality is huge here. So the headquarters of a lot of the top hotel brands and hospitality brands are here, and they are also at the forefront of sustainability. So initially the private sector drove the agenda, but I could see for the last 5, 6, 7 years prior to COVID, large organizations, I have in mind Dubai Airport was one of them, then Dubai Duty Free, then here, the new airport terminal here, which is just open.
So like in the way that single-use plastic bags have
100%. They start internally to ban the plastic, and then we all know 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, almost 2 years now, the ban on plastic bags came in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, all right? And then we are about to experience the second wave, which is this 15, 16 these single-use items that will be banned as of 1st of January. So that will then drive the agenda. But local authorities also has stepped up, especially after COP. And then I could see that the regulations come in place, and then more and more enforcement is being made and efforts being made for organizations to implement sustainable packaging.
So now we have started, once we start using the biodegradable material or the packaging, so how do we bring this into the consumers? Because we need to have a procedure for the distribution, collection. So how effectively can we get it implemented? What's your take on that?
Well, it is a very good point. I think most of the organizations, they are used to segregate waste now for the last 4 or 5 years, or even before COVID, glass, paper, aluminium, metals, cooking oil.
Yeah, because if it goes in together, the compostability
it is very simple. Lots of our products, for example, the home compostable ones, they will go off in with organic waste, so they will go into lots of organizations. Also, they have composting machines on site, and then whatever it is for the industrial composting part, that at this stage still goes to the landfill. However, it will not last for hundreds of years like plastic does. It will decompose. Luckily, the weather here is not like in Romania, where I'm from, when in the winter everything freezes. The weather really helps the process of decomposing. So that takes 3 to 5 years for it to decompose. But ideal scenario is to have either an industrial composting plant, or in lots of countries in the Western world, and not only in Australia, PLA, for example, is being recycled. and it's being used in the same fashion as plastic.
Yeah.
And it's being used into 3D printing and so on. I mean, here we try to be one of the 3D printing capitals of the world in UAE. So I see lots of applications in that. But again, we need volumes. So we are at the early days. So there's very little volumes yet in terms of quantities to make sense to build such facilities. But yeah, it can be scalable, definitely.
So maybe the waste collection companies, they can start the segregation, and then we can go ahead with the usage more and more wider.
I think we have to dance together, us, waste collection,
exactly,
as well as the end client, all right? So
because everybody needs to be aware of the process, and they need to understand why it is done, how it is done. So this is going to be of much help.
Correct, but all this industrial compostable material, they are a resource, same as plastic is a resource. So you can recycle, it's money to be made at the end of the day, all right? All we need to do is to put the stakeholders together and then agree on the process, and then who takes the benefit.
Yeah, that's right. And now we see a lot of packaging materials coming into the market. It says 100% eco-friendly. And there is also this term called as greenwashing, right? So what do you think are the risks with that? Is it fully reliable when you see that claim on the packaging material?
Well, look, as an ethical thing, as a business, as well as a human being that I try to make a difference on this earth. For me, we never went that way to say, product, to highlight the product for being what is not, all right? So we always try to say, yes, we had an industrially compostable product, and it's not the best solution, but it's a step forward in the right direction until we found another ingredient or another material to make a home compostable product. But you give some examples. I mean, I have in mind the plastic. Before, remember, the standard was oxo-biodegradable plastic. Yes. So what we were doing, we were adding certain chemicals in plastic bags to make them disappear very fast. Yeah. Now that standard has been banned all over the world, and I see that it's being slowly eliminated here. But I also see certain operating mentioning that this bag, a retailer, for example, this bag is made of the 100% plastic, recycled plastic, which is not the case. Technically, you cannot make anything out of 100% recycled plastic. You still need some virgin material in them.
Materials too.
And then I see that authorities and the awareness did so well that we don't really have to put someone on the spot. I think those who do such things, they learn the hard way sometimes. Yeah. But I think everybody wants to take an opportunity and to make a business, but let's all do it ethically and so on. So that's all I say.
Yeah, all right. Okay. So, so a place like UAE, definitely they are in much supportive, and also you have a lot of companies coming in, producing these biodegradable materials. Now we look at the edible wraps. So what's your take on the edible wraps and usage of this edible wraps for the packaging of the food materials?
I mean, look, edible is not here since today. I mean, when I grow up and you buy an ice cream cone, it was the packaging for the ice cream, correct? So then we got comfortable, so we make them in paper cones and stuff. But they are there to stay. In my view, all points considered, there is still a place for them, but they cannot cover, and they cannot be scalable. I mean, at this stage, they are not scalable to compare to the home compostable material or the industrial compostable material, because there is certain limitation in terms of hygiene, in terms of climate, in terms of the way that one operation works and so on. Perishability is another big factor. I mean, if I only talk about home compostable or this sustainable packaging, you know, you need to store them in an AC environment. They are delicate goods. It's almost like a plant.
Because it's when you say edible, it's like a food. So we treat it like a food, right?
100%.
So the packaging material.
And then once you talk about hygiene standards and the AC environment, then it's expensive, and that makes it a little bit more difficult to implement in operations.
Okay. Yeah. So unlike the developed countries, how do you think the emerging economies, like the developing countries, how can they, come up from the traditional methods and move more towards a sustainability in terms of technology? How can they adapt?
Well, I think in UAE we always try to be number one in everything, and then the development, the future things. We are quite fast or quite proactive to adopt new technologies and so on in here.
Yeah.
And so I can talk about the sustainable products. For example, the last 7-8 years, we saw a big traction for the product. Authorities have stepped up also the implementation of certain standards in place. If I think of the oil extraction, because we are in an oil producing company, if I give a nice example, the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, they produce the greenest oil in the world, all right? So they upgraded their facilities that we have not only one of the cheapest to produce oil, but also the greenest to produce, which I think is very important. And then to make an analogy, is the same with packaging, you know. So a lot of effort, a lot of studies has been done, and I can see now there is 2-3 already local companies like us that we manufacture locally. We're adding the in-country value, we're reducing further the carbon footprint, and we're creating jobs and so on, but also we contribute to the local economy, and then to putting UAE on the map. In terms of sustainability and so on. And after COP and the Expo 2020, the agenda has flourished, I have to say. So you see, it was not without any intention. I mean, intentionally this type of large-scale events have been brought here because the world recognizes what is being done in this part of the world.
Exactly. It's now because UAE has become global.
Yeah.
Look, we have people from all around the world. All right. So thank you for joining with us, and thank you, Peter, it was a very interactive and it was a very delightful session. And I believe everyone is, we hope to do more for the sustainability. Only together, like the manufacturers,
Thank you for having me
everyone,
here. Thank you.
We
Thanks for the
can
invite.
bring in more into the sustainability. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the invite.